We do it on Friday. Got to get the water out of the way.
Brent Key, former All-ACC offensive lineman right here at Georgia Tech.
I'm honored and proud to obviously take this responsibility leading football.
There's a fire that burns inside of me.
Up front, keep your eye on Brent Key.
All these memories come back. Games as a player.
It's a touchdown, Georgia Tech!
We're proud of the identity that we created. A tough, physical football team.
It's the heart of the Jackets!
We spent 2 years of really climbing. Now it's time to take that jump.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another special edition of ACC Huddle. Pleased to be joined by Georgia Tech head football coach Brent Key for our visit here today. Looking good, by the way.
You can thank Danielle.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's who.
It'd be blue jeans and a T-shirt or something, if not for her.
And the signature boots. Tell me about the boots. This is a thing you've done ever since I've known you.
Yeah, I love cowboy boots. I think they've become a little bit nicer boots over the years than I used to wear, but I always have. Probably a little bit of a throwback to where I'm from.
Yeah, sure.
But I just like the way they feel. You can wear them for really anything, and plus it gives me a chance to talk something to Lugs.
Yeah, Tom Luganville needs to be brought into every conversation
Yeah.
here. I wanted to do this, but I wanted to wait a couple years. What's been the most satisfying part of being the head football coach at Georgia Tech, your school?
Wow, I could go on forever. With just the things that are pleasing and happy times. But you move so fast, you go so fast. You're always in the moment of preparing and working with your players and your staff and always trying to improve and get better in everything that's going on. But about once a month, I take a little time in the office just to stop, pause, and just take a look around the stadium and see those names in the stadium and the skyline behind it. And just for about 3 or 4 minutes, all these memories come back to me of, games as a player, games as a GA in Bobby Dodd Stadium. So, taking that little time to reflect, and it took me a while to do that, but taking that little time to do that makes me really realize all the people that have had so much of an impact in the history of Georgia Tech football, and that now I'm sitting in that seat and have a chance to represent all of them.
The site you play your home games is so historic. Does it talk to you?
Oh, yeah.
Are there ghosts?
Yeah.
Are there ghosts in the building?
There's ghosts, and most of them are to the west side.
Yeah, sure. Right?
There's a few.
The home side?
There's a few in like the northern part of the east, but it does, and it's a weird thing because unless you've been on that field and now you have a chance to sit above it and look over it. Me and Joe was here. People might know him as Roman Reigns, but we know him as Joe.
in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns, the WWE multi-time world champion, right?
Largest, most visible athlete in the world or something right now.
Right.
Just to sitting there with Joe and us reflect back on our times, even though I'd finished up right when he came in. We didn't overlap each other. We were right back to back. And just to talk about what it meant to us to this day, to that's the field where we really became who we are. Built the lessons of the good and the bad.
How much of Brent Key the coach resembles Brent Key the player from the late 90s, early 2000s that was so successful?
Hopefully a lot. Hopefully a lot. I work very hard to be who I am. And look, when you're in this position, it's easy to say and it's hard to do. Because you're constantly so many people pulling you different directions and wanting to, their own self-interest. But the only way to be is true to yourself and be who you are. And, I look at it very similar. I look at, coaching a staff like it was coaching the position. I look at being in front of the guys like I'm still one of them. I really do. And when you put the white and gold on and they're strapping it up and, I'm going through my pregame speech to them.
Make every punch harder than the punch before.
That's the one time a week that I am emotional.
Yeah.
I am emotional because I feel them and they feel me.
The full disclosure about our relationship is it started like when you were a freshman.
Yeah.
Whew. And all of a sudden you're playing, right?
Probably too soon.
Yeah, probably. But that's the reality of your career, was you were thrown into it early.
Right.
And had to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, when you got the interim tag, 4 or 5 games into the season,
Right.
you had to adapt again. What did you learn about yourself and your future as a coach in that interim phase of your career?
A lot. I tell people that when you have to stand in front of a football team at 6 p.m., 4 days before you go play a top 20 team on the road in conference, and there was a lot of dysfunction and bad things going on. Like you have to have confidence in yourself and what you're saying. But I say all the time, like, that's what Georgia Tech teaches you. It teaches you how to figure things out and solve problems, right? And I got thrown in a situation where I had to figure it out real fast, and I didn't have a lot of time to think about all these other things. I knew what was the most important was those players in front of me and the GT that we wear. And every decision that had to be made, I made what was best interest of those two. But when you get in front of the team for the first time and you're talking to them and you say, look, I want there to be ownership in this thing. I want us to do this together. I've walked up the hill. Right? I've heard the horn, the whistle blow and been late for class. And look, I've
rode the stinger.
I've waited at the bottom of the hill to ride the stinger up the hill. All right, 15 minutes after class had started. They're up there checking classes already. We're late. No, we don't care. We're riding the bus. I've seen the sun come up over the city doing workouts in the morning. But more than anything, I've messed up the things that they've messed up. I've made those mistakes. And for me to be transparent with that and talk to them about those mistakes that I've made in my past in hopes that they don't do the same thing, it just created this relationship, coach-player relationship that I wouldn't trade for anything in the world.
I want to get to your coaching influences, and those are much more pronounced than maybe the most important influence in your life, which is your mom.
Yep.
The emotional moment with your mom before every game at home is something that I think personifies really your core. How did you decide, I'm going to run out of the tunnel and blow a kiss to my mom at home games?
Well, it's funny. My mom was over last Friday. She drove over for the day, and she says to see me is to see Harper, but who, by the way, lost her first tooth yesterday. Big day in the
granddaughters always are number one, by the way.
But those 3 women are special to me. My mom was the mom and the dad. Mm-hmm. My mom was the disciplinarian and the encourager. And I wasn't the most straight line young man walking through the streets of Clay, Alabama, I'll tell you that. So what she did and the sacrifices that she made, the sacrifices to never miss a Little League game, never miss a football game, when she could have been doing a lot of other things in her life and she didn't. Those sacrifices, I mean, that's it pales in, it's such a small task compared to what she had to do in my young life. And, probably one of the happiest times I get as the head coach is when I hear my players talk about the number one thing they've learned is how to treat women. But because my mom, my wife, and my daughter, they're the most special women in the world, the most special people in my life. And to hear my players reflect that and how they know to treat women, I mean, that really makes it worthwhile.
When we get to the football influences, I know your high school coach was special to you. I know George O'Leary is special to you. And I know Nick Saban is special to you. In going back and reviewing, I wanted to make sure I had maybe all the potential influences in coaching in your playing and coaching career. It's amazing the number of guys you have been exposed to as a player and a coach. I know George and Nick mean a ton. Who else impacted the guy we see today coaching Georgia Tech?
There's been so many that have. The first is probably my mother. It was probably 07, 08. I mean, I was a young tight ends coach at UCF, and I just couldn't get them to learn it. And I called my mom one day, and I said, Mom, they can't figure it out. They can't get it done. And she said, son, you better figure out how to get it done. When I teach little Johnny, how to do multiplication, and he can't get it right the first time, I can't move him to the third row of the class. And that's all you're doing is moving him to the third row. She goes, I get called to the office and I get reprimanded if I can't get it done. You better figure out how to get it done. Click. That's the way my mom was, and it is to this day. I mean, we're very, very similar in personalities, which is scary to think. When I came from high school to Georgia Tech, the Coach Wood, who was my high school coach, taught me about discipline and taught me about accountability. But when you're that young age, you don't really understand. And then I got here, and then by my redshirt freshman year, Doug Marone was coaching me on the O-line. And I had such a special relationship with him. He wasn't a father figure. He was almost like a big brother type. Mm-hmm. But I don't think I would have appreciated that relationship the way I did if it wasn't for the man that came in my senior year, Mac McWhorter. Mm-hmm. And then as a grad assistant, working with Mac. Polar opposite of Doug. Super effective, just like he was. But it really showed me there's more than one way to do things.
Right.
Billy, who is, I know he's a competitor in the league now, but Bill O'Brien, I mean, his first year as the OC was my first year as a GA. And then, the guys we came up with, I mean, the guys that are my age, George Godsey and, me and Shane Beamer were together as GAs and Ryan Silverfield as GAs. I mean, you go on and on with the guys that were kind of in that little crew we had coming up. And then you become influenced a different way. As you get older, it's not as a mentor type, it's more of a peer type. And you see those guys go on and move on, guys that did things right, guys that did things wrong, and you take little pieces from all of them.
All right. You've been a program changer as a player because you signed on when Georgia Tech was coming off a 1-10.
Yeah.
Ultimately led them to an ACC championship in 98, double-figure win season, the whole bit.
Uh-huh.
Now you're also a program changer as the head coach. The central figure on the field for you as the program changer is your quarterback.
Right.
You played with a great quarterback, Joe Hamilton, arguably the greatest quarterback in school history. You're now coaching a guy who statistically could be the greatest quarterback in school history in Haynes King. Have you thought about that?
It's kind of surreal. He had a chance 2 years ago in the bowl game to break 4 single-season passing records at Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
And we ran the ball 27 straight times at the end of the game.
Yes, you did.
And Haynes was begging to run it again
and
again because it was what was best for the team. And he knew, me and him have a really unique relationship. When you win a game, everybody gets the praise and the credit, and everybody gets, their butts kissed up and down Peachtree Street, right? So, it's but when you lose, they look at two people. They're looking at the quarterback and they're looking at the head coach.
That's right.
And we got to own it.
Mm-hmm.
And then after those games, I grab him, I find him, and I grab him. I say, let's go own it, big boy. Walk off, head up, chest out, and let's go own this.
As all great quarterbacks do in their career at some point, if they have major success and are remembered forever, he has a game where he may not play his best, but he shows unbelievable toughness, tenacity, and will to win. That happened a couple different times for him. And the regular season finale last year at Georgia was one of those games for him, right? I mean, it was just the showcase of who he was and what your team was. And yet at the end, it doesn't go your way. Has it laid in a character trait of what this potential team could be?
Look, I think there's a fire that burns inside of all of us. There's a fire that burns inside of me. I don't think we did anything but dumped a can of gasoline on top of it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, because look, if you're playing a great team at the end of the year and you're preparing every week to play and beat great teams, then you're playing that way. You're preparing that way every week in every game, and it's hard to put into words a little bit the question because that is it ate at me.
Yeah,
for a while.
Sure,
it did. But there comes a point as a man and as a leader of men, you got to shake yourself out of it and say, okay, what do we got to do to be better? Mm-hmm. Right? It was on us. Right? We can say, people can say all they want, but at the end of the day, we lost a football game we had an opportunity to win.
Yeah.
Right? And we let it slip. Okay, so you can look out across all America and as a program, we're proud of the identity that we've created. Because we've created an identity, and you can look anywhere across the country or ask anybody that's watched us play, and they'll agree. Right? And if you can't watch the game, watch one. They're fun to watch, and we can own that and be proud of that and celebrate that. But that doesn't give us an opportunity to celebrate one thing at the end of the year. Nothing. All right. Celebrate your identity just gives you a chance at the end of the year to possibly be able to, cheer and have some success. But we own that identity that we have. All right, now we got to close the gap.
Yeah.
It's been closed. Now we got to keep closing that thing and make that jump. And yeah, it fuels us. Yeah, it drives us.
I want to ask you something that I've been asked multiple times this year in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Not many times in college football, not many times in sports, Brent, do people see two competitors embrace at the end of the game like you and Kirby did in Athens. Doesn't happen.
You do in heavyweight boxing.
But you're also throwing punches at times too when they
we threw punches.
Yeah. You guys have known each other a long time. You worked together at Alabama. That's a unique relationship. That was a unique moment in college football that really nobody else saw on the field. What was it for you two?
First thing I'll say is I didn't even realize it until a day later when I'm sitting downstairs in a hole watching games the next day, and to see, the flag planting and the fights and all that at the end of the game, and to kind of think back and say, none of that happened in our game.
Mm-mm.
Right? The respect that was there. And look, we've all worked together. We all respect each other, but there's not a lot of people that know what it's like to sit at that seat at the place you played at. And to be, we're the only state in the country where the two flagship schools have former players as a head coach. And
who played against each other on the same fields.
Yes.
In
same
meaningful
fields.
games between the two schools.
Yes. Seems like yesterday. There's so much history there, not as competitors as coaches, but as competitors as players. We recruited together for years.
Mm-hmm.
But when you leave everything on the field like that in the state of Georgia, in the South, in the heart of the South, in the heart of college football, right? No one really knows but him, and I know what he goes through. He knows what I go through, right? And we know how important that game is. And that's what's been lost the last, few years.
Yeah.
The importance of that game, the significance of that rivalry game, right? And that was up to Georgia Tech to bring that thing back relevant. And we're not there yet.
When you think about this team, what do you want this team to be? What are your aspirations? I know champions and winners and things like that, but you've established the physicality, the toughness in 2 years.
Can't lose that. Cannot lose that. We have to increase that. What I want to see out of this team, it's time to take the jump. It's time to take that leap. It's time to, we spent 2 years of really climbing, climbing out and building. Have you seen was it Batman, the Dark Knight Rises, when he's down in the cell,
Right.
And the fear, they asked him the fear of climbing out, and he has to climb and then make that jump,
Mm-hmm.
but he doesn't want the rope. Well, that's kind of where we are. We've made that climb. Now it's time to take that jump.
Last few minutes here, I want to cover a few things. Kyle Ephford is a terrific linebacker. He's amazing. He is a throwback linebacker. Is that why he is perfect to play for you?
There's so many reasons Kyle's perfect to play for me. But do I love that about him? Yeah.
Okay.
To have that catalyst on our defense, that he's got a lot of things he's overcome in his life too.
Mm-hmm.
And it still works to overcome them every day. But that kid's shoulder was blown out last year, and he brace it up and go. And boy, and there's so many of them, but that's what I want people to think about when they think of our program.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's hard to establish that type of identity in your team.
Yeah.
That toughness and that seeking out contact, to seek out people, to hit, the physicality of the game, and to crave more of it. They crave more in practice. They crave more in scrimmages. They want that. And he's a big reason why. He's a big reason why the defense had the greatest 1 year turnaround, rushing defense in the 30 years.
Right.
And a lot of that's because of him.
Yeah.
Gets people in the right positions, puts them in the right place. knows his strengths, knows his weaknesses. You know, I mean, love him.
You play for George O'Leary. You work for George O'Leary. What's the one thing from George O'Leary that happens in Brent Key's football program every day?
Toughness.
Okay.
Toughness with the players, the staff, right? And then I would say the organization with the staff.
Okay.
I mean, George O'Leary, if you worked for him more than a few years, you learned how to build a tough, physical football team, right? And you learned about organization of the day-to-day.
You work for Nick Saban. What did you learn from Nick Saban that happens every day in your program?
Evaluation of recruits never stops. From the first time you start recruiting them in 9th or 10th grade until the day they leave your program, you never stop evaluating.
How would Brent Key, the player, react to the portal and NIL?
Okay, well, no different than I tell our kids right now. I'm no different than them. As adults, we were doing this way before the players and the kids were. Jumping jobs, chasing money.
Yeah.
And so let's don't act like this is new.
Right, sure.
And I'm upfront with our players about that. I want them to have what's best for them.
Sure.
I would do exactly what the players I brought here with me today. I would try to get as much as I can for me, personally. But at the same time, in the back of my head, I wouldn't be leaving. I wouldn't leave the place. But you're going to take what you can, get what you can get when you can get it, because nothing's promised in this game. And I want those guys to do that. I want to be able to provide that for them.
That's good. Most underrated or undervalued trait of a successful program is what in football?
Honesty and transparency. It's easy to say, that's hard to do. Man to man, another man does something that not the way you wanted it, and to confront them in a way that makes them want to do it the right way, not in a berating, tear them down type way, but choosing when to be that way, like to delegate responsibility, but then to accept the confirmation of responsibility. That's hard, right? But that's how you hold people accountable, and to be that honesty that comes with them. When a player walks in your office and says, "Why am I not playing?" All right, you can sit there and hem-haw around it and say, "Oh, you got to work harder," but they might be the hardest worker on the team. Sometimes the guy in front of them is better than them. Honesty.
Did you ever think about trademarking "run the ball"?
BPB USP. Big people beat up small people. It's a little internal thing. But that's something for Coach Saban. I mean, like Coach Saban used to tell us all the time, there's weight classes in boxing for a reason. You don't see lightweights fight heavyweights.
Right.
You don't.
Sure.
Football's a big man's game. Unless you can run real fast and run away from me.
Thanks to old number 70 here from Trussville, Alabama for his time. Good luck this season.
Well, this is I'm kind of almost stunned for words right now, because I've gone down some memory lane right now this last 30 minutes. I'm having some really, really cool memories and thoughts, and all the guys that have come along the way. And I say it all the time to those guys that, I get to sit in that seat, but they're all sitting there with me.
Yeah.
They're all sitting there with me. I appreciate you.
Thanks for watching a special edition of ACC Huddle.